Hello, I'm Faith Bautista, and this is a special episode of Owning a Piece of America. 2 years ago, the Atlanta spa shooting rampage sent shockwaves across the nation and heightened the need for solutions against anti-Asian violence. My special guest today, U.S. Representative Ted Lieu and actor-producer Shin Koyamada, are here to share their background and look at where we are today and how the media plays a role in the appreciation of Asians and the Asian culture. Thank you, Shin Koyamada, and my own Congressman Ted Lieu for joining me today in this dialogue where we hope to examine how each of our leadership is bringing together a truly meaningful and actionable solution to the anti-Asian violence and how we are elevating the Asian presence in the media industry. But first, let's talk to Congressman Ted Lieu. Congressman, you have been a servant. You have been serving Californians. You have been serving not just the Asian, but the immigrants, the whole United States, from being state assembly, Senate, and now the highest ranking Asian in Congress. So we'd like to hear your story, your background, and how did you become Congressman Ted Lieu?
Well, thank you, Faith, for your question, and honor to be on your show with Shin. My story is the same as many of yours or your viewers or their parents or grandparents. I am an immigrant. And when my parents immigrated here, we were poor. They did not speak English well. And we started off living in the basement of a person's home. They went to flea markets to sell gifts to make ends meet. And after working hard, they were able to open one gift store in a shopping center. And then they worked 7 days a week, saved up their money, and opened one gift store in a shopping mall. And eventually they expanded over 6 stores and shopping malls. My brother and I would help watch those stores because they didn't have to pay us. But at some point, I realized they reached the American dream. They went from being poor to a home, gave my brother and I an amazing education. My brother's a doctor now in Orange County. My parents still remind me of that. But it's one reason I joined the U.S. Air Force on active duty. I believe I can never give back to America. Everything this amazing country has given to me. And it's one reason that I am in politics, make sure that this dream remains open for people who want to work hard and succeed.
Congressman, there's a lot of issues right now. I feel like we are so divided with what happened in Monterey Park, in Atlanta massacre, in Half Moon Bay. What are your thoughts about that?
We're actually not that divided. The overwhelming majority of Americans support, for example, universal background checks, nearly 90%. Most Americans support a ban on assault weapons. There are a lot of Americans, including gun owners, who support stronger gun measures to keep guns out of people who shouldn't have them. So I don't think we're actually that divided. I think you have a small core group of people who have been captured by the gun lobby and the NRA, and they have been extreme and they oppose any sort of gun safety reform. But I think the overwhelming majority of Americans know that we need to make changes to this system because the current system has not worked and it's resulting in lots of mass shootings.
That's good to know. I love being more positive. You're right. When I say undivided, it's not everybody, a portion, but, hopefully the way we work together, the way we do more outreach, the more we show all the love, we can all be united, but it's almost impossible, right? And this is why, the fragmented Asian, but at the end of the day, we're here to support each other. I mean, Shin, what do you see? I mean, you're calling from Japan right now, and Shin, you work a lot with the Consul General, and I know you're representing in Mongolian. So, I mean, do you see a lot of fragmentation or see a lot of violence out there too, outside the United States?
Yeah, I'm visiting Tokyo right now, but in Japan, for example, there's no guns. There's no threat. Just walking on the street, somebody may pull out the gun and shoot. And people are well educated here. The educational system is really good. So I think the education is one of the most important thing for people in general in the United States, how dangerous the gun is. So I think that's the first thing. And the second thing is like Ted said, it's the laws that prohibit people being able to access the guns. The guns are everywhere in the United States, so it's hard to get all the guns back. I think city of Los Angeles many years ago bought many guns back from the gun owners. I think that was a great idea too. But I think education is important.
Yeah, and I know your story also, Shin, going to America without knowing English, and you're just so dedicated to do what you need to do, and you became a famous movie star. So great immigrant story.
Yes, three of us, Faith, you're immigrant, Ted, myself, we're all immigrants from Asian countries, and we're proud to be Americans in the US, and however we can support these countries to continue to be the best and have the best relationship with Asian countries and Asian American communities in the United States.
Congressman, after we just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of Atlanta massacre. Do you think there's changes that the government has done and the community? Can you talk? You think like the aftermath? What have we learned from it? Are we still have to do so much to ensure that Asian representation is out there?
So in terms of your question and the Asian American community, I think there's some good news and some bad news. So I'll start with bad news first, which is there's been a shocking increase in hate crimes against Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and Native Hawaiians, over 339% coming out of the pandemic. For those who are in the community, this should not be particularly surprising because while I believe America is an exceptional country, we have had problems with race, and there's been a history of discrimination against Asians. There was a whole yellow peril hysteria early in America, followed by the Chinese Exclusion Act. That was then followed by a massacre of Chinese immigrants in Los Angeles. And then you had the Japanese American internment. And now out of this pandemic, you've got additional hate crimes. And then in the 1980s, you had the murder of Vincent Shin when people feared the economic rise of Japan. So there's been a history of this. Now, the good news is this time the communities fought back and elected officials fought back. So we passed on a bipartisan basis in both the House and the Senate, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, to direct additional resources to states and the federal government to target hate crimes related to COVID-19 against Asian Americans and other minorities. President Biden has signed 2 executive orders directing additional resources to fight back against hate crimes against Asian Americans. And you see a lot of people across the United States coming together in solidarity, including civil rights groups and nonprofits, all in support of the Asian American community. So it's different now than it was, let's say, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, what have we learned from it? Because after that, there's more incidents, right? And you're right, 74% hate crimes on Asian, and unfortunately, we're celebrating International Women's Month, and yet the women, Asian women, are disproportionately suffering more on hatred. So, any thoughts about that?
Well, one difference is how government reacted, right? In World War II, the United States government put over 100,000 Americans who happened to be of Japanese descent into internment camps. This time, the government passed laws to try to help the Asian American community. And I think one of the differences is you have the highest number of Asian Americans in U.S. Congress in history. I think that made a difference. You also have a president who was very aware of discrimination against all Americans, including Asian Americans. And then you have a vice president who also is Asian American as well as being African American. And so I think because of the change in America that's happened over the last few decades, and generally a good way, I think you had the government react in a much better way when it encountered discrimination against the Asian American community.
Don't go away. Owning a Piece of America. We'll be right back.
Shin, with your Japanese background, right? People are telling me, I hear that, Japanese are not really minority. You guys own banks and you're very progressive. I mean, any thoughts of that?
I mean, look, there's 24 million Asian American people in the United States. In addition to that, there are 14 million immigrants from Asia residing in the United States. That's a huge number of Asian and Asian American people in the United States. And as you all of us know, we are very diverse communities. When people talk about Asia, you're talking about 49 countries in Asia. We're descendant of those 49 countries in Asia, from Asia in the United States. So, being Japanese, being Filipino, being Chinese, being Vietnamese, we're all Asian American. So, I see myself as an American and an Asian, and it's important that we come together and support each other and get our voices out in the media. That's what's great about Chime TV, launching this to get Asian American and Asian voices from the United States and from Asia to the general audience in the United States and address important issues to general American audience, like, for example, artificial intelligence that Ted, wrote about, which I think is an important topic that we should all talk about in the United States.
Yeah, I want to hear about artificial intelligence. I love the New York Times op-ed that you said it freaks you out. And my husband's nephew actually, had a podcast, and it says that artificial intelligence is diminishing the education. So please, Congressman, talk about artificial intelligence.
Sure. As a recovering computer science major, I am both enthralled with artificial intelligence. I think it's going to do amazing things for society. It already has. It's already made our lives significantly better. But at the same time, it does scare me because it can also do great harm. My view is the artificial intelligence is like the steam engine right now, which was quite disruptive to society. But in a few years, it's going to become a supersonic engine. And I think we're not ready for that as a society. I think you're going to have a number of white-collar jobs that are going to be eliminated or drastically reduced. You're going to have, I think, other jobs that are created, and you're going to have people who are going to be just as productive in a few years as they are now in a 4-day work week. So we should do some thinking about that. What happens when our tasks are made more efficient and easier? Do we have more leisure time, or do we just work people even harder, make them do twice as much as they're doing currently? So those are things that I think we as a society and government need to think about.
Yeah, because it's not really regulated, unlike financial institutions, they're highly regulated. And artificial intelligence, we like it. It brings a lot of efficiency, but also the safety of it, the danger of it. What do you think consumer groups, viewers can do to make sure that this artificial intelligence is not artificial, that it's truly intelligence as well?
I think people should call for more regulation of artificial intelligence. So I'm drafting a bill right now to create a bipartisan commission of experts to provide recommendations to Congress on what kinds of AI we should regulate and how we would go about doing that. So we're not going to regulate, for example, the AI in your smart toaster, but we probably should regulate AI in a car going 65 miles per hour. So I think we have to determine where we should regulate the artificial intelligence and how we would go about doing that.
Yeah, no, actually, the smart TV is so smart, I cannot turn it on.
Another thing is deep fakes. The videos are going around in social media, And then it's kind of scary as an actor. Like, I mean, what if we don't need actors anymore? You know, we can deep fake videos are basically replacing someone else's faces on your face. And with the AI voices, computer speaking on behalf, and you have somebody else's faces. And how would you trust the video if it's fake or not in the future? It looks so real.
Yeah, and even the facial recognition. So I have two girls, and they pretty much look alike. They can switch, and really, they get the information. Thank goodness they're very close sisters, but that's very dangerous also, that facial recognition. So I'm so glad you're doing that.
That technology is also less accurate for people with darker skin. And so if you deploy it nationwide, my view is it's one big equal protection violation, because minorities like us will be misidentified at higher rates. And so I actually also introduced legislation to regulate law enforcement's use of facial recognition.
Don't go away. Owning a Piece of America. We'll be right back.
I want to go back to the media, minority media. You know, Shin, you know, you're in the Last Samurai, you're in the Disney. And by the way, it's fun to have you here. Where do you see the D&I on media? Let me ask from you what you're seeing, Shin.
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned before, there are 40 million Asian immigrants and 24 Asian American people in the United States. As an immigrant, one of the most difficult obstacle was to get visas. There are many talented people from Asia coming to the United States. 1/3 of all immigrants to the United States are Asians, and I'm sure many of them are pursuing American dreams in the United States, like myself in acting, and yourself, Faith, in TV, and Ted as congressman. So I'm sure there are many people coming to the United States trying to achieve American dreams and making sure the opportunities are given with the visas, working visas. I think that's the first obstacle. So improving that is important, just to get that, to be able to stay and work in the United States. And giving the right opportunity, like grants, giving grants to Asian and also Asian Americans, people in the United States, to get their business going. Asian people, even though they may not be Americans, but they're paying taxes. They're doing their businesses. They're creating a great communities in Los Angeles, in Southern California, and across the United States. So I think giving them grants and visas and making sure we support each other in the United States and sending the right message, like we're Asians, but we have very diverse communities. So,
but the D&I, I noticed though, correct me if I'm wrong, Asian is not part of that equality. Because I'm talking to some corporations, their initiative is for the Black and brown, and the Asian is not part of that. And I always say that, even white, yellow, we're all colored. So I don't know what your opinion on that also, Congressman. How is D&I, is that because the E is the equality, and it seems to me like it's being forgotten or not as immediate need for them, but maybe because of that myth that Asian are highest household, highest education, but on the sub-ethnic group, the Pacific Islander, the Hmong, it's not as progressive as other Asian minorities. So any thoughts on that?
So I'm a supporter of data disaggregation. And so, Faith, you're right that when you disaggregate the data, you'll see some ethnic groups that are very different in terms of income and education and poverty level compared to some other ethnic groups. I think it's important to get the full picture with data disaggregation. And then when it comes to corporations, I think it just depends on which one. Some of them are more inclusive than others, and the ones that are less inclusive, we should ask them to be more inclusive.
Any suggestions? I mean, both of you can talk about it. Like, how can we ensure that we are Americans, that we also want to own a piece of America, and that don't think that we're all highly educated, that we're all Harvard, Stanford, like Congressman and others own homes. And like I said, the data is not, because they lump us all in just Asian. So,
well, I think the most important thing to do in terms of trying to affect society and government is for Asian Americans to get more involved, right? To register to vote, and to get all your family members and friends to register to vote. Join civic organizations, write letters to the editor, to your newspapers. It is true that many newspapers do get lots of letters to the editor. It also is true that many of them come from the same people. So when you start writing in, then one day you're going to get published and you can start changing hearts and minds. And just speaking out using social media, right? Social media is free. If you write an interesting post, maybe someone in Kentucky will read it, or in Ohio or in Florida. So think of all the ways you can use your voice to try to change hearts and minds.
Don't go away. Owning a Piece of America. We'll be right back.
oh my gosh, I'm really encouraging everybody. Your vote matters. Really.
Mhm.
I know one politician in Orange County. She won by 3 votes. So your vote matters. And, some of the culture, like, oh, I don't have to vote. They pay me to vote. What does it matter? But it's really wrong. I don't know how else. And Shin may be in Hollywood, and regardless who you're voting, but you need to go out and vote, and also study. I mean, find out why is this person should deserve to be representing us. We're not that. I mean, that's my observation anyway. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but a lot of them, they just don't think they should vote. But one vote matters. I mean, Congressman, if you can please encourage how important this is. There's 26 million Asians in the United States, and sometimes we could be the swing votes. Any thoughts on that? And just really more encouragement on the voting. Now you're making me excited.
So the good news is Asian Americans, based on the last 2 U.S. Census reports, are the fastest growing ethnic group in America. Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and Native Hawaiians have more than doubled in size since 2000. And the communities are growing everywhere, not just in places like New York or California, but also presidential swing states like Georgia and Nevada, places where Asian Americans in terms of population, they were way more, in terms of numbers, higher than the margin by which either a Senate candidate or the presidential candidate won the state by. So Asian Americans, if they vote, can make a difference in not only the local elections, but also in national elections as well.
That's right. And be a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
and I think in addition to Ted mentioned, I think it's important to have role models in the media too. A lot of younger people watch nowadays on social media and TV and the media. And as a Chime TV, I think it's important to feature those Asian American leaders, community leaders, elected officials on TV and the media, and how they're doing, what they're talking about, the issues they have locally in the media. I think those messages are really important, and what they can do in their own community, whether it's contacting their own mayors or city council, congressmen, or the state elected officials.
Yeah, I always tell people, start even with the Park and Recreation Committee. Start being a councilman, and then we go back to city council, board of supervisor. Before you know it, look at this. We have in California, we have the first Filipino to become an attorney general. Who would think that Congressman Ted, who was selling in the flea market, right? That's now very influential and powerful. And thank you, by the way, Congressman, for the work that you do. I can attest to that. You are my congressman. You're here in the west side of Los Angeles. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And I love this conversation. The more we have conversation like this, especially the Gen X, the Gen Z, and how they can get involved. So any last word? I mean, Congressman, you are our model. Everyone should think that you can be who you want to be if you have work ethics, you study, you follow the law. I mean, anything, especially for our young generation and the senior citizens as well.
So first, let me thank you, Faith, and Chime TV for everything you're doing. I think it's terrific. There's now an Asian American television channel. And thank you, Shin, for your leadership, both in doing great movies, but also for speaking on behalf of the Asian American community. For the young folks, I think you should pursue your dream. As far as I can tell, you only live once. And so if you don't pursue your dream this lifetime, I'm not aware of any other lifetime in which you can do it. And so that's my message to young folks. And then for senior citizens, you should know that there's one party in the United States who is trying to protect Social Security and Medicare. That's the Democratic Party. And then you have Republican senators like Rick Scott and Ron Johnson, who's called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. They are trying to dismantle it. And so you should think about that the next time you vote.
Most people that I know are living in their Social Security. I think we should fund more Social Security. I'm going to get my Social Security soon. Oh my gosh.
I agree with you. I hope Social Security is still there when I reach that age.
Well, it better be. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And, let's all chime in. Everyone, let's chime in. We're in the greatest country of this earth. People are loved. We love people. And for those that needs help, there's a lot of services. Thank goodness to our government that are putting a lot of resources, from even the mental illness, even to the nonprofits and the businesses. So I thank you, Congressman. Keep up the good work, and anything that you need help, our constituents, your constituents, and others are ready to help you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Our field correspondent, Mary David, will be right up.
Today we're exploring the kind of fusion that exists inside each country, specifically within Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Myanmar. These are the flavors of ASEAN. While we often think of Asian fusion as its own brand, today we're exploring the kind of fusion that exists inside each country, specifically within Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Myanmar. These are the flavors of ASEAN. The Los Angeles consulates of these 5 nations, through the ASEAN Women's Circle of Los Angeles, hosted an incredible event to showcase how their national cuisines are unique, yet rooted in shared values and culture.
Food is a very big part of our country culture. And it's more than the nourishment for our body, but also an important aspect of our people history and heritage. And for us ASEAN people, we are from the same geographical region, and we share a lot of similarity in our culture, and food is one of the biggest elements of our ASEAN culture, which reflects our way of life and also the national character of our people.
I was able to speak with Consul General of Malaysia, Anil Adenan, to gain a deeper understanding of ASEAN and its impact on Southeast Asia.
ASEAN is comprised of 10 countries: Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Established in 1967, ASEAN aims to promote regional integration and enhance cooperation among its member states.
So, where does the ASEAN Women's Circle of Los Angeles fit into all of this?
The ASEAN Women's Circle in Los Angeles, a grouping of the female diplomats or spouses of the ASEAN War missions in Los Angeles. Its objective is inspired of the ideas of ASEAN, and we aim to promote awareness about the regional bloc as well as foster closer ties with the communities in LA through various activities such as this cooking demonstration.
Madam Noy is president of the ASEAN Women's Circle of Los Angeles, or AWCLA. She explained how, through food, AWCLA provides for unmet needs in the community and invites others in to experience the greatness of Southeast Asian culture.
This has been an amazing event. Tell us why, as part of the ASEAN Women's Circle, you chose cuisine to highlight unity.
Food is very an important element in our lives, and food also reflects the culture of our country. And ASEAN, we have a lot of things in similarity, and we would like to present to the world our culture and the taste of ASEAN.
For example, this event, we see it as the bridge between ASEAN and the local community here in Los Angeles. Food is something that can be a pulling factor, like a magnet for every community, not just ASEAN, but also the local community here in Los Angeles.
Given all of your experiences in so many different places, what are some ways where you have seen cuisine actually bring people together?
Well, this is a very good example of it, right?
Yes.
So ASEAN is like a regional bloc comprising of the 10 countries. But here we only have 5 because there are only 5 ASEAN formations in Los Angeles. So food is essential because, like I said, it's like a pulling factor, it's like a magnet for everyone to share. And from food, you can learn the different culture, the different history of it. So food is essential, and it's events like this where we can help to promote ASEAN in local community that we're actually very excited for.
Even though some of the ingredients here are the same, there are so many distinct flavors in each of the foods. Madam Dia Krisnawan, the patron or spouse of Indonesian Consul General Saud Krisnawan, let me in on which foods she finds most comforting while traveling or living abroad.
Is there a dish that you have tried in another country that has brought you the feeling of home?
Satay make me always feel like miss home. But we have satay in different country like Malaysia. They have satay. We couldn't find it somewhere. Probably in Indonesian restaurant they're out of satay. We go to Malaysia. We're gonna find the same satay, but different taste. But still, the same satay.
Part of the beauty of what this event showcases is how cuisines from other places can enhance instead of detract from all that a nation's food has to offer.
Now let's go into the micro.
Okay.
What is an ingredient that you have come across through your travels that you have now incorporated into your own cooking?
I think the important ingredients that I would need to have would be the shallots, the ginger, tamarind. So those are the essential ingredients that I usually use.
How food reflects a country's culture really hit home when we discussed how people greet one another.
Like in Thailand, it's like instead of saying how are you, sometimes we said, have you eaten yet?
It's a
So
greeting.
it's a greeting in Thailand too, like กินข้าวหรือยัง did you eat rice already or something like that. So we are concerning if their well-being, because if you have food, you are well, you're feeling well.
I mean, if someone has eaten, they're good, and if they
Yes.
haven't, probably not so good.
What is something new that you learned in putting this event together?
We use similar herbs because we are in the same area and we grow the same herbs, and that's why it's herbs like lemongrass, chili, ginger, galanka. Like the cow soy, we just found out today that Myanmar also have cow soy.
What is an ingredient that you've come across that you have incorporated into your own cooking?
Ginger and turmeric. It's healthy, but it's make the food taste better.
I love that.
Yes.
Definitely enhances flavor
Yes.
and so good for the skin.
I know.
Which we have to
Yes.
love. Food is such a powerful way to bring people together. Can you tell us about how you have seen cuisine actually create unity among people?
We can see the same food, but the different ingredient that's into it. So like we have the same food from each country, like laksa. In Malaysia have it, but we want to see what's to make them different laksa. So this is sometimes make us want to come to event like this. See, like Singapore, they also have kway teow. And then, but we also have kway teow. But the difference between Singapore and Indonesia, there's a different ingredients they put. That's why we always look forward to an event like this. We want to see what make them proud of their cuisine, and also what make us proud of our cuisine, because we have a different. But we are a neighbor country, but we share the same spices, but we make it different put it different in our own food. That's make us proud of being Asian country, because diversity makes us together.
Laksa was a recurring topic of conversation. It absolutely has to be on your must-try list. Mr. Akbal Setia, Vice President of the Americas of Tourism Malaysia, helped me understand why.
As compared to the rice, laksa is a noodle dish. It can be different types. You can have more broth, a clear broth, or a white broth, or a fish broth. So yeah, it's different type of laksa we can have. So each of the state in Malaysia would have their own laksa. Each state will have their own laksa.
That's incredible.
Incredible, right? Yeah.
Really
So for example, laksa in the Terengganu will have a white broth based on the, I think, more on the coconut side of it, but laksa in the northern part of Malaysia would be based on very clear, spicy and sour broth. Yeah. So it will be different. Yeah. And down south will be different. You use your hand. They use spaghetti for the laksa. Yeah, laksa Johor will be using spaghetti.
I love that you mentioned how every state has its own version of laksa, because that really speaks to how many different cultures come together within Malaysia. There's even a tagline about that, right?
You know that Malaysia is truly Asia. That's our tagline, right? Malaysia truly Asia. So we are in combination of Malay, Chinese, Indian, and other races, the Aborigines. So with those combination, we have influence of like fusion food. So yeah, it is very interesting. You have the spiciness of the food, you have the sourness of the food. Lots of things to offer in Malaysia in terms of the food and the culture.
If I had just one day in Malaysia, give me a rundown of what I should eat.
Breakfast, I would say people usually go with our Indian influenced dish called roti canai, and we have teh tarik, like a pulled tea. Usually that one is for breakfast, and then lunch we will have nasi campur, which is a mixed rice with different types of condiments, and also we call lau. Lau is like a condiment. You have a different type of veggie, beef or chicken and fish, and then dinner, of course, usually people will take very heavy dinner in Malaysia.
This event is truly extraordinary. When it comes to your own cooking, what is a dish that if you're hosting a dinner party, you have to make sure they try?
I think everything is actually surrounding the rice. Rice is the staple. So for me, the most important thing that I would do is what you call nasi goreng or fried rice. So it's basically frying the rice and having different proteins. You can have eggs, chicken or beef and all that. Yeah, it's a complete meal. You can have the protein, you can have the fiber, you have the veggie and all that.
Find a nasi, that means you had your lunch, you have your dinner. Rice is everything.
Rice is everything,
Yes.
and no one is going to go hungry here.
Don't go away. Owning a Piece of America will be right back with Mary David.
During a unity event sponsored by the ASEAN Women's Circle of Los Angeles, we were able to speak with Consul General of Malaysia, Anil Adenan. CG Anil is the first female Consul General of Malaysia. It's Women's History Month, an opportunity to highlight the incredible female changemakers who break glass ceilings, empower marginalized voices, and pave the way for a future we are all proud to step into. During a unity event sponsored by the ASEAN Women's Circle of Los Angeles, we were able to speak with Consul General of Malaysia, Anil Adenan. CG Anil is the first female Consul General of Malaysia.
Are there women that you have looked to for inspiration that have really helped you in your journey?
My mom, because my mom is the one that has been saying that, Anil, you can do whatever you want to do, you can be whatever you want to be. And she also, this is my mom saying that, as a woman, you have to be independent, you must be educated, and you shouldn't rely on your husband. You have to have your own career, you have to have money and all that.
Behind every leader and Shiro are the women who came before her and shaped her life.
Who is a woman from Malaysian history who you draw inspiration from?
She is in the public service, and she's among the most famous and longest serving Secretary General in Malaysia in the public service. Her name is Tan Sri Nurul. She was among the first female Secretary General, and she served many different ministries. So I look up to her, and until now I'm still in communication with her, asking her opinion on how to do things and all that. Yeah. So Tan Sri Nurul, if you see
Shout
this,
out.
Yeah. If you see this, this is the first time I mention her name in public, but I do admire you. You've been my inspiration.
It's always top of mind. Before you became known as CG of Malaysia, take us back to your earliest beginnings. What got you into public service?
I come from a totally different background. I was a software engineer. I did software engineering, I did all the decoding and all that software for about 4 to 5 years in the private sector. But my passion has always been with the political aspect and international relations. So in Malaysia, if you want to enter the public service, then you would have to go through a series of exams. I passed that. And since then, there's no turning back. Becoming a diplomat, my first posting was in Santiago, Chile. My second posting was in Paris, France. And this is my third posting in LA and as a Consul General. Yes.
You are the first female Consul General of Malaysia. What advice do you have for young women and young girls who are aspiring to become like you?
Okay, I live by this Nike slogan, just do it. For me, you have to be adventurous, you have to be courageous. At times, you have to be out of your comfort zone to get what you want to do and to be what you want to be. So there are sometimes obstacles. People saying that, no, you as a woman, you wouldn't be able to do this. It would be difficult for you as a female diplomat because you will be dealing with trying to balance between career and family. But we as women, we can do everything. We're multitaskers. We are mother, we are daughters, we are sisters. So do not be afraid. Be courageous. Go out of your comfort zone and just do it.
And she is doing it. At the helm of diplomatic relations here in Los Angeles, Consul General Anil Adenan is embracing her pivotal role with the grace, spirit, and drive that is drawing others in and raising other women up.
Thank you for joining us today in Owning a Piece of America. Let's enjoy the beauty in our differences. Until next time, I'm Faith Bautista. Take your peace.